the nightcap on Sunday night, the 8 p.m. game, Steelers, Ravens. We wanted to start with Pickens versus Baltimore's corners, but I wanted to shift gears a little bit because the news just came out that Zay Flowers, the star wide receiver, leading wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, not going to be playing in this one. Knee injury, out against the Steelers. How big is this for the Baltimore Ravens? Could this, I mean, I don't think this week it's that massive, but if he's not healthy, how much of an impact, Lachey, do you think this is for them and their Super Bowl hopes?
It's massive because he's the perfect receiver for what they like to do schematically, right? They have a physical downhill run game. And we talk about this, Mike. Zay Flowers is one of the best separators in all of football. And because everybody wants to stop the Ravens running the football, he gets a lot of man coverage. And he's one of the best at separating from man coverages. So people talk about all year long how the Ravens have had the most separation in regards to space for Lamar to throw the football to go to his receivers. Bateman's another really good separator as well. So these guys are a benefit for what they do on offense because they run the ball so well and effectively that you get man coverage on the outside. And that's why Zay Flowers was a Pro Bowl receiver this year. Those deep over routes, he just runs away from defensive backs. So to your point, I don't know if it's going to be that big of an issue this week, but going down the stretch, say they were to advance and Buffalo advances as well, that's going to be a cause for concern for this Baltimore team if they want to make that run to the Super Bowl because he's a key cog in what they want to do, passing the ball down the field. They work hand in hand together, the run game and the pass game. It's married for the Baltimore Ravens. And you see right there how the offensive yards per play go down when Zay Flowers is off the field in the rush as well, too, because he is so fast. Even if you go man coverage, you do want to keep that other safety out of the box, and you have to because of the speed that Bateman and Zay Flowers bring on the field. So it's a big loss. Again, to your point, Mike, we'll see how long this injury lingers. If it's just a 1 week thing, I think the Baltimore Ravens will be okay. But if this is something that's going to be a few weeks, it's a cause for concern if you're this Ravens offense.
I think this Ravens offense had obviously an understanding that Zay Flowers was not going to be out there with the team. And if he was, it was going to be one of those miracle recoveries. We saw in the replay the way that he grabbed at that leg. And as a player, you know that when you grab at it instantaneously and you wince, there is a lot of pain there. And it's obvious that he's dealing with something. But as it pertains to the Ravens and moving forward offensively, this is a group that had some changes in terms of production throughout the course of the year. Mark Andrews was seemingly not a part of the operation early on. He ends up becoming the leading touchdown scorer in the National Football League at the tight end position. You might have to stat check me there, but he's damn close. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of the tight ends. I mean, obviously Zay Flowers is a huge part of their offense. He's a leading receiver. He's got 1,000 yards. He's a guy that in the scramble drill, Lamar Jackson can rely on to be eye to eye with him and stay mirrored at the third, second level of the defense. But with Derrick Henry and those two tight ends, you still have the ability to cause suck on that second level of defense. And when I say suck, it's really respect. It's the guys looking at the mesh point, following Derrick Henry. Second level's got to come up. It's going to provide a lot of opportunities for maybe Lamar Jackson to run some more. Without Zay Flowers, you lose that explosive edge, but you can still matriculate the football down the field. On and off the field stat, I like that. But that's with a game plan to have Zay Flowers in the lineup. Without Zay Flowers in the lineup, how does the game plan deviate? And might they like it just as much?
Yeah, I have to agree that not this week, but going forward, this is a massive blow. He's just so talented, and the running game is predicated on it because they have to go too high when Zay's on the field. Like you gotta put a safety over the top of this guy, or his post corners and things of that nature are just gonna kill you as a defense. So on the flip side, though, George Pickens, back in week 11 when they won, when the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Baltimore Ravens, he had 12 targets, 8 catches, 89 yards. He was a big factor in that passing game. Doesn't play the second matchup, and Baltimore blows them out. Has come back from that hamstring injury, but since the hamstring injury, guy's been a complete non-factor. I mean, he couldn't catch a cold in week 18. Do we foresee him showing up here? Which George Pickens are we getting, Kyle, this week?
I surely would imagine that we're going to see a fiery George Pickens. It's never for a lack of explosion. You know, it's the lack of focus that I'm concerned about, and the lack of staying locked in, staying involved, playing the next play. As a pitcher in baseball, I had an explosive personality and I gave up a lot of home runs by nature of the fact that I threw hard. If you hit the ball, it was going to go very far. And if you hit it properly, it was going to leave the stadium. It was on me to be able to move on to the next batter. And I feel like the quicker that George Pickens moves on to the next play and adopts that mentality, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be better for it. Maybe some pancake blocks in the running game, but I fully anticipate that if they haven't rallied around this guy in the locker room, we're still going to see a liability in the emotions department.
This is where we'll see if Mike Tomlin truly still has a grasp on the locker room and the temperature of the locker room, because he's dealt with receivers that have been fiery, that have been quote unquote divas. When you talk about Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, and he's been able to get the best out of all of them. And even George Pickens, you can throw him in there as well. He has a handshake with his head coach, right? You rarely see that in the NFL. So they have a special bond and relationship. So I would assume, to your point, Mike, after a lackluster performance last week where he had 3 drops that were just god awful, that you're not accustomed to seeing George Pickens do, and him talking to the fans and going back and forth with the fans, that Mike Tomlin will take this guy aside and do whatever it takes to get the guy that we saw earlier this year that was on the same page with Russell Wilson, because they have not been on the same page. You talked about it, Mike. He missed a few games with the hamstring, and ever since he's come back, it just has not been the same. So I believe we will get the best effort, but I still think the Baltimore Ravens will outclass them in this game.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I think he shows up. I think he's locked in. I don't think it matters. This Ravens secondary is playing too well.